Coming up next on MASL Primetime, the Dallas Sidekicks come up with their best performance of the season to date against Monterey, but would it be enough to take down the powerful Flash? Craig Alston, the voice of the San Diego Sockers, joins us to review what's gone down so far this campaign in the Western Conference, and reigning MASL MVP Nick Pereira talks to us about his Tacoma Stars in this week's Team Spotlight. It's all coming right up on MASL Primetime. This is MASL Primetime. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Alex Bastiavansky, and better late than never, the Ontario Fury finally made their MASL season debut last week. And due to a scheduling quirk, the California squad had to wait until week 4 to get their first game in, which was torture when you consider the Fury will be one of the most closely watched teams in the league this season, featuring former U.S. international Jermaine Jones and massive free agent signing Frank Te'u. So finally, they hit the floor last week for their first contest against bitter rival San Diego. Highlights in this segment are brought to you by Mitre. Mitre, the official soccer ball of the MASL. All eyes are on the Fury this season with the talent they've got on board, including former U.S. international Jermaine Jones, back for his second season. The Fury finally making their debut in week 4, but it's the Sockers that hit first.
Looking for some Sockers magic. Here's Leo. Oh, the Leo move. The Leo move. The Leo score! Oh! He does it all! Toss them socks!
Leo de Oliveira, the wicked strike, and here come the socks. The annual charity sock toss in San Diego. Over 1,200 pairs of new socks and underwear donated to the San Diego Rescue Mission. Way to go, Sockers fans. And they had a lot to cheer about in this game. Second quarter, the steal and new addition, Slava Yupi Paripovic, the feathery soft touch, making it 2-zip. San Diego, a $1.14 later, more Fury sloppiness, another giveaway. Brian Farber, 5-hole on Chris Toth, 3-0 Sockers, and they weren't done. Slava to Leo for his second of the day, and the blue and gold up 4-zip at the break. Now, the big free agent signing for Ontario this year is the legendary Frank Te'u, previously with Monterey. He does his best to get his team going. The sublime shot past Boris Pardo. But late in the game, watch Boris go to work here.
Back to the high middle. Oh, nice touch. Charlie to the corner. Sliding is Pardo. He stops it twice. Te'u! Oh, Pardo best for last.
3 ridiculous stops in a row by Boris. Moments later, though, Evan McNeely slams one home to cut the deficit to 2 goals for the Fury, but that's as close as they would get as the Sockers spoil the season opener for Ontario. They win it 4-2. This just might be the best rivalry in the MASL right now. Baltimore hosting Utica. Season series tied at 1 heading into this game. Vinny Dantas gets it going early, 1-zip. Ricardo Dieguez gets back 2 for Utica, though. First the left footer right there, and then Ricardo. The redirection out front off the feed from Nate Bordeaux. Jamie Thomas responds for Baltimore. 2 apiece, it's tied. Second quarter, the game 3-3 at this point. Tony Donatelli ripping the twine to give the Blast back the lead. Fourth quarter, UCFC up 6-5 when Yonatos Mello sends it to overtime, where it's Ben Ramin playing the hero for Utica. Top cheese. Gorgeous shot, and that wins it for the blue and white as they take down Baltimore for the second time this year, 7-6. The final. Okay, maybe the most improved team in the MASL this year, Florida, hosting Orlando. No scoring until the second quarter. Victor Paredes slams it home to make it 1-zip. The Seawolves respond. Eduardo Cruz knotting it up at 1 apiece. Back to Pereira, though, as the sniper picks up his second of the contest to give FLA back the advantage. Okay, Ricardo Carvalho has been an absolute stud for Florida since coming over from Harrisburg in the offseason, leading the Tropics in scoring, and he adds to his season tally with the Karate Kid style strike right there. Beautiful. 3-1 Florida at that point. Fourth quarter, Orlando makes a game of it, trailing by one. Richard Sherman knots it up, but it's another Florida newcomer, Gordy Gerson, to the rescue. That would prove to be the game winner as the Tropics pull away in the end and take it by a 6-3 final. Okay, MASL top scorers through 4 weeks of play, and it's Edgar Gonzalez continuing to lead the way with 15, followed by Vinny Dantas, Brian Aguilar, Dom Francis, Ricardo Carvalho of the Tropics, and Christian Segura of UCFC. Welcome back to MASL Primetime. The Tacoma Stars are a franchise with a rich history going back decades. The original team was founded in 1983, and they actually hold the record for the largest crowd to ever witness an arena game when over 21,000 packed the Tacoma Dome back in 1987. They love their Stars in the Pacific Northwest, and we take a closer look now at the squad in this week's MASL Team Spotlight.
Trying to send up Pereira. Beautiful throw. One-touch shot and goal! Pereira makes it count with a dazzler.
A legendary player suiting up for a legendary franchise. Last season, Nick Pereira added the role of player-coach to his resume, leading the Tacoma Stars to a playoff berth before bowing out in the first round to San Diego, while himself picking up the league's Most Valuable Player award in the process. Today, Nick shares his thoughts on the past, present, and future of the club that's proud to call the Pacific Northwest home.
Yeah, I mean, last year's team was not too dissimilar from this year's team if you look at the makeup of who we have. I think that obviously we went through a little bit of a curve. There was a change in coaches. Obviously, I took over 3 or 4 games in. So that was definitely a challenge and an adjustment period for everybody. But I think we finished really well. We had some players who had some breakout seasons. I mean, Mike Ramos jumped onto the scene with an obscene amount of points, and I think it's still kind of crazy he didn't make any of the teams of the year. And I'm really pleased with this year that we started off better than we started last year, but not quite where we finished, if that makes sense. So we've got Danny, who is arguably, for the last, 20 years, been the best goalie around. I think that the definition of this team and what it's always kind of been about and what this organization has been about is the collective, right? And you look at the franchises that have won historically, the Milwaukee's, the Baltimore's, they throw 3 lines at you of consistently good quality players where the level never drops. I think that's one thing we have this year that separates us is that our rotations are pretty equal. We try to do everything together, and we try to make sure that the collective outweighs the individual at all times. The city of Tacoma is a hardworking, down-to-earth city, and I think that's kind of the strength and the heart of this organization too, is that we have values about respect and about hard work and about ethic. Organizations have souls, and attitude reflects leadership. So when you see a player behave a certain way, I think that reflects not just the coach or the general manager or the owner at the time, but just the history of the organization. So very proud of the team, very proud of the organization, and proud to be a part of it.
Okay, Nick and his boys were hosting the Ontario Fury last weekend, and the Stars draw first blood.
Ball down low, trickle toward goal and scored! Send in the Bears, and thank you very much, Chase Hansen.
The second annual Teddy Bear Toss, benefiting Toys for Tots. Hundreds of bears collected. Great job, Tacoma fans. Once they got back to business, Mekong de Abreu evening things up for the Fury right there. Second quarter of play, Juan Tapete slams it past Danny Waltman to give Ontario its first lead. In the third, though, Tacoma strikes back. It's Mr. MVP, Nick Pereira. spinorama shot that finds the back of the net to tie it up. Fourth quarter, tied at 3. Michael Ramos, an absolute screamer top shelf to give the Stars the lead once again. Down 5-4 now. Frank Tayou, 2016 MASL MVP, showing off the elite skills, but then it's Jameel Cox with one of the goals of the year. Cheeky little back heel there, and that would prove to be the game winner as the Stars take it by an 8-5 count. Okay, the Harrisburg Heat have been impressive this season, and they were hosting struggling Rochester. Late in the first quarter, Julian Escobar gives the Heat the lead. The Lancers respond, though. 13 seconds later, Michael Cunningham shelves it to knot it up at 1 apiece. Second half, Harrisburg leading 4-2 when Ty Hall rips a beauty past Brian Wilkin to make it 5-2. Fourth quarter, last week's player of the week, Dom Francis, taken over. Roof Daddy there, and then he taps in the nice feed from Daniel Villela. Rochester was down 8-2 when Jeremy Ortiz smashes a nice one into the far corner. They'd add one more, but Harrisburg just too much on the day. They double up the Lancers, 8-4. Okay, back to San Diego. And the Sockers hosting the Sonora Solas. 9:24 in, Eduardo Velez gets the party started for the blue and gold. And then, it's just Ole, little dancing with the young fan. Love it. But then, Jose Armenta, oh baby, crushing it past Boris Pardo. That might be the best one-timer we've seen all year so far. 30 seconds later, Enrique Quinez deposits. Sonora up 2-1 after one. Second quarter, look at the sick volley here by Hiram Ruiz. And yeah, have a seat, sir. You deserve it. After that one, 2-2 tie. And then leading 3-2, Brandon Escoto scores, but pays the price going hard to the net. Goes down. He'd be okay, though. That proved to be the winner as San Diego triumphs 6-3. Hey, welcome back to MASL Primetime. And the man joining me now has one of the most recognizable voices in the Major Arena Soccer League, Craig Alston, the voice of the San Diego Sockers. So he's got a front row seat to all the action out west, and he's going to join me now via Skype to take a look at what's gone down so far in the Western Conference this year. Craig, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Alex, it's my pleasure. Loving what you're doing with MASL Primetime.
Thank you, my friend. And you've got a big old smile on your face, and you're definitely a happy guy this morning. 2 big wins for your Sockers over the weekend, one over Ontario, the other one over Sonora. But today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about the conference in general. What has stuck out to you so far through 4 weeks of play?
I think the most obvious thing is how strong the start has been for the Monterey Flash, a club that last year knocked right on the door, made it to Milwaukee, upset the Sockers on the road to make it to the Ron Newman Cup final, really played a good first half. It kind of got away from them in the second half, and they dropped the championship game. The Flash have won and have been multiple-time finalists, but this year, head coach Luis Jaime Borrego really has his club firing on all cylinders. A plus 28 goal differential is extremely impressive. And as a result, I think it's fair to say right now, Monterey riding high as the top team in the MASL.
Riding high. So I was going to ask you for a comment on a team, but maybe they aren't essentially surprising. Is there one team that has surprised you in the sense that perhaps they've exceeded your expectations up to this point?
Oh, well, there's no question about it. It's the Cal Express out of tiny Turlock, a team that not only came to San Diego and beat them here for what we could figure out was the first time ever in 9 years of the two clubs playing one another back or forth. But then they've gone out and they have picked up impressive wins at home as well, and now sit at 3-1, sit at second place in the conference. All the credit in the world should go to Edgar Tebo Martinez, who's taken over as head coach, and the competitive level, the speed, and the excellent technical play of Cal is a real shocker to those of us who've watched the West a long time.
Right. Well, on the flip side of that, then, is there a team that you were expecting perhaps a bit more from at this point that hasn't quite lived up to expectations?
Well, I think the fans in the Inland Empire are still waiting to see when the Ontario Fury are going to roll out and tune up. The Fury had to wait 3 weeks before making their MASL debut. They were the last team out of the gate, and then went out this weekend and took a loss in San Diego, went up to Tacoma on Sunday, gave up 5 goals in the fourth quarter. They led at halftime, and they wound up losing to the Stars 8-5. So with so much change in Ontario, bringing in Frank Taillou, re-signing Jermaine Jones, bringing in Justin Stinson, Nestor Hernandez, Joseph Kyrell, so much change in flux in the Fury roster, and you know that eventually they're going to get it together. But as they drop games early in the league, that certainly is a surprise.
It is, and big expectations, as you mentioned, coming into this season for the Ontario Fury. We've seen some standout performances by players throughout the 4 weeks of play so far, but Edgar Gonzalez of Monterrey, he's just been lights out, hasn't he? Leading the league in scoring. He was good last year, but man, he's just taken things to a whole different level this season, hasn't he?
Well, you know, it's funny because on the official MASL podcast about 3 weeks ago, Jeff Husted and I were talking, and I told him Edgar Gonzalez is one of my picks for MVP this year, for being someone who's going to be a finalist for MVP. The man they call Torres really came into his own during the WMF World Cup in Australia, was a real leader along with Utica City FC's Moises Gonzalez as the forwards for that World Cup championship team. And I just saw his confidence flourish. And quite frankly, I think Torres is benefiting from Frank Taillou being in Ontario. Right. He's now the focus of the offense. He's no longer the second forward. He's the number one guy. And man, he has taken advantage. 11 goals, 15 points, and one of the most dangerous players. And the thing about Torres is that he's not just a striker. He's not just camping in the offensive zone. He's got the foot skills of a midfielder. He can lead the counterattack. Edgar Gonzalez, a player to watch.
He has, and we've got 40 seconds, and I'm going to be a jerk because it's way too early for predictions. I'm going to ask you to give me one anyway. Yes, I am that guy. I apologize. But is this the year a team from out west finally breaks the streak of Eastern dominance and takes the title after being shut out 4 straight years?
Well, this is how I'm going to be political about it. In that we have interconference play again this year, I think we've got a lot to find out. The Sockers will play Baltimore. They'll play Monterrey. We're going to see a lot of cross-conference battles. I think it's going to come down to Monterrey and San Diego in the end. Here in the West, I think either team absolutely could win the Ron Newman Cup and beat the team out of the East.
Good, man. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us here today. And, of course, happy holidays to you and your family, my friend.
Happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy Kwanzaa to everybody, and I hope you continue to enjoy the MASL season. We sure are on our end.
Excellent. Thanks, my friend. More MASL Primetime coming up in just a moment. Welcome back to MASL Primetime. Whether you're talking Cardinals, Royals, or previously Rams, Chiefs, the sporting rivalry between St. Louis and Kansas City is fierce. Every time the Ambush and the Comets face off, it's no less intense. 250 miles separate the two cities down the I-70, two proud soccer communities with loyal fan bases. Last weekend, the rivalry resumed once again in St. Louis. Game highlights in this segment are brought to you by Sports Resource Group, proud partner of the MASL, SRG, building walls that bring us together. And the Ambush had yet to notch a win through 3 games heading into this one, so they were a hungry bunch. And look at this beauty to start things off. Tic-tac-toe. Tony Walls converts 1-0 for St. Louis. Some luck from the soccer gods here for KC. Kyle Williams, the shot deflects off a leg and beats keeper Paulo Nascimento. 1-1. Back the other way, Pepe Junquera, one-time perfection. St. Louis back up 2-1, and then a gorgeous pass by Jonathan Pichard to Kadus Lawal. 3-1 for the Ambush. Tony Walls had a game for St. Louis. Out-chumps the keeper there. And 4-1 for St. Louis. Second quarter, Leo Gibson with one of the goals of the week. A howler past the keeper. You will be seeing that again in the plays of the week. Guarantee it. Second half, KC knots it up. Gibson, impossible to stop when he gets going. So this one was off the OT.
Touched over to JT, the shot, he scores! The Englishman, JT Thomas, wins it in overtime.
JT Thomas from Yorkshire, England, strikes the mitre ball from Yorkshire, England, into the back of the net.
Yorkshire in the house. From Yorkshire to St. Louis with love. 8-7 ambush, the final. Okay, struggling Dallas in tough against first place Monterey, but they were actually right in this one. Down 1-0 early, Freddie Mugin tips it home and ties it 1-1. Second quarter, the Flash pouring it on. Brian Aguilar on the doorstep knocks it in. And then Marco Tovar jams it home to make it 3-1 Flash. But hold on for a second. The Sidekicks show their moxie. Sublime run by Luis de Andrade, and he rips it bar down to make it 3-2. And then with the score tied, Andrade gives Big D the lead. Could it be? Nah. Monterey taking over in the fourth. Aguilar notches his second of the contest to tie things up. And then Damian Garcia tattoos the offering into the back of the cage to make it 5-4. But again, Dallas responds. Billy O'Dwyer gets the Sidekicks even once again, but you can't do this to your keeper and expect to win. One chance, two chance, three chances, one too many. Too much ball watching by the Sidekicks, and they pay the price. Hugo Puentes gets into the act as he hammers it past Juan Gamboa, and a little shake and bake after for good measure. Dallas pressing late, trying to close the gap, and Brian Aguilar puts home the easy tally. 4 goals for Brian on this day as he paces Monterey to the 10-6 win over a game but overmatched Dallas squad. Sidekicks looking better though lately. Okay, the naughty list. Let's check it out. Evan McNeely of Ontario scored against San Diego, but also unfortunately got into a disagreement with a fan up close and personal. He got a 1-game suspension. Rafa Alves of Florida, ouch. Sometimes words are just unnecessary. Cleats to the chest there. Red card, he will serve a 1-game suspension for adding some air conditioning to the jersey of Joshua Sandoval. Okay, the team of the week, and it's led by Ricardo Dieguez of Utica City, Brian Aguilar of the Monterey Flash, Ty Hall, Brian Farber, Juan Rojo, and Boris Pardo. And our primetime player brought to you by Sport Turf is Ricardo Dieguez of Utica City FC, who was simply massive in their win against Baltimore. Ricardo had 5 points, including 4 goals in the game, and he also set up the overtime winner by Ben Raman. He is our primetime player of the week. And our plays of the week, number 5, Sonora's Jose Armenta crushing that offering past San Diego's Boris Pardo. Number 4, St. Louis versus KC, JT Thomas, the man from Yorkshire, England, the overtime winner. Number 3, Tacoma's Jameel Cox, cheeky, the little backheel beauty against Ontario. Number 2, Leo Gibson of KC against the ambush. Look at this strike from distance. The screamer past keeper Paulo Nascimento. Unreal. And number 1, San Diego's Boris Pardo with not 1, not 2, but 3 massive stops against the Fury. We couldn't pick just one. So those are our primetime plays of the week. Yeah, and that's going to wrap things up for today. On behalf of everyone here at MASL Primetime, have a happy and safe holiday season. A reminder, MASLsoccer.com is your home base for all things in the Major Arena Soccer League, and there's all kinds of other social media to keep you up to date as well. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week.